All right. I think we are live. OBS is saying that I am streaming and that there is audio. Do you guys hear me? Someone post in the live chat. Let me know. All right. So what we're going to do is one of my favorite things about doing in tabletop is making maps of things. But I had a real problem with I would end up spending 8 hours making a map for a session, which left a beautiful map, but it definitely made me sometimes not want to put the time in to make a cool map for the custom session that I was about to run. So I went on a search about 2 months ago to find the perfect map making program, and I found Arkenforge. I tried out a lot of them, but this one basically to me was like if you took Photoshop and you took all the great things about Photoshop but just made it for making maps. You get to load in your own tile sets. It comes with tile sets. It's a good price. It's only $35. They're always doing updates. So overall it's a good price, but for me, I can knock out a good looking map in an hour, which I guess is what I'm going to do. So the first thing you can see here, we got the whole, their launcher here. The test stream, Master's Toolkit test stream is for testing new functions. But if you do Master's Toolkit stable is the one that is the one that you want to run if you don't want to test out new features and have some bugs. I started out with that because it was a little confusing when I first opened it up. It's like, where the heck do I click? There's no, like, just open. Right now it's preloading all of the tile sets. Takes just a moment. I've loaded in a lot of my own tile sets, so and there's a lot of cool free stuff out there. There's an old program called Dungeony that has a ton of smaller PNG files that you can use. Like basically every time I'm making a map, I'm like, oh, I want this really specific thing. Jump on the web, go to search for what you're looking for, like wooden staircase, Dungeony, and then you're gonna find a couple staircases that you can use. And from all my research, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like everything made for Dungeony was open source, so you could use it in whatever maps you want. Now, I'm not ever reselling any of these as tiles. I'm selling them as full maps or giving them away or just using them in my game. So now we're here. The Master's Toolkit for Arkenforge can also be used to run a digital tabletop for like your local game as well, which I haven't really used, but it's got things like soundscapes, scenes, and so on. But we'll click here. Click a new, oh, no, we don't want to open map. We want to create a new map. And this is going to be the Eldar City Caves. Now I made that, double click it, and here we go. A huge grid. You can really make something as big as you want. I've made maps up to 80 inches by 80 inches. The save PNG file on that was, I think, like 900 megs, so it's not really good for day-to-day use, but you can shrink it down a bit if you want. The overview of tools, like so here is how to paint down objects, and you got all your different objects here. Lighting. The rest of these I don't really use because that's setting up stuff for running the game, and then settings. But we will start out with just starting to paint down a dungeon and not worry about the rest of that stuff until we come to it. So what I've done is I did a very quick, if you look up in the small map or the small image, drawing of a map this morning of what's in my head, which I find is easy for me to look at and then build from rather than just trying to do it straight out of my mind, still going to old pen and paper to get that that first structure. So we're going to start with actually not structures. We're going to want terrain, This is going to be, it's a long staircase going up to a platform, and then there's going to be a cavern that breaks off from it. So the first thing we need to do is make the pathway for the staircase. I'm thinking this is going to be a pretty epic staircase. It's going to be 15 feet across. What I've done is I've chosen terrain, cobblestone, tiled placement, and let's see, transparency. Yes, it's fully opaque. And so you just drag and pull like that. And so then we have really long cobblestone area. Another thing I like to do, and this might just be me, is I like to, oh, by the way, you can control the map with your normal video game movement keys. So like WASD will move you around your map. But I like to have a nice black backdrop when I'm working. So I will just do a giant one like that. And all of a sudden you see I covered up the thing I originally did, which will bring us to the next thing, the menu. This is all the things that you can do to manipulate whatever you just put down, whether it's a token, a map tile, whatever. So go ahead and click layer and just click move to the bottom, and that moves it to the bottom, and then all of a sudden you have our staircase area again. The outside of the staircase is going to be like a cave, or not a cave, a canyon. So let's build that up. Go ahead and go to terrain again. We'll go to dirt. Also, as we go along, if anyone has any questions, I do have the chat pulled up. You know, there's a little bit of a delay, but I will get to you. So we'll just do like a dirt ground, which I will place it like that, and then tell it to, once again, we don't want to go to move to bottom, just move down one layer, and then boom, you have it underneath this staircase. Well, so this is really like squared off. It doesn't look natural at all. So what we're going to do next is add in a wall. Walls can be put down in many ways. It can be tiled placement, but I like the repeatable placement. You can pick the width of the wall down below. And let's just do a stone wall, and we're going to do the wall going up this one side of the staircase. And if you want it to snap, you hold down Control and then drag that wall down. And what that does is it has a nice drop shadow effect, so it feels like a wall. If you don't like that certain one, you can just select it, hit delete, click the stone wall. Let's see what a more gray wall is going to look like. I think it might be more pleasing. There we go. And then for this side, I'm going to do that same thing. Bring that wall down. And then I'm going to start halfway through. Actually, no, that's too tiny. So let's start. We're making that crack that's going to go into the caverns. Choose that wall, hit Control, and bring it up to there. So now we have a hallway there. On the outside here, I'm probably going to want to put some doors, but we'll worry about that later with other placement with when we get to objects. Now, we want to have a canyon-like wall on this outer area. Oh, by the way, hello everyone. Hi, Sky Dragon, Ephema, and of course, hey Alan, what's up, man? I said of course because I know that Alan's down for all my wackiness and always going to come check it out. He's one of our panelists. He's going to have another panel later on today, so be sure to check it out. Actually, 2 panels, right, Alan? So we're going to go for this canyon. Jump back to walls. Brick's not going to really work. Stone, I hate to have it be the same, so we'll just do this stone, and then what we're going to do is repeatable placement, and we're going to do, I believe it's freeform placement, and then I'm just going to select here, yep, and then you can just draw along and boom, you got a nice canyon wall. Now the cool thing is in programs like Fantasy Grounds and other things, this is also setting up your line of sight, so you don't have to go back and do that. If you put down a wall, when you use this in Fantasy Grounds, you drop down tokens, it's going to automatically block line of sight, which in our game last night was really cool. And we'll do, let's get like really sort of, there we go. Now, if I'm going to put out this map without line of sight, you know, you don't want to have this sort of dirt in the background here. So what you can do is go back to terrain, color, and then you're going to pick the brush. Transparency is full, brush width is 1, and we don't want any softness on this. And then just like in any of your Photoshop or other art programs, I can just come along and paint right along this. If you missed a little bit, just go back, hit that. Alright, we want to see, move down one layer, nope, move it back up, so that way it's not blocking any of those walls. Alright, so then as you can see, you can easily get a cool cavern wall there. Oh, hey Joe, what's up? I don't see people who join, I only see people who chat, so if there's any lurkers out there, I won't be able to say hi to you until you say something. You don't have to say something, just saying. Just letting you know. We'll come in and do this side as well. And we'll keep moving it down until it's not blocking anything else. Alright. So we got this going on. Now, one of the things, I'm a big person on the lighting. So if you click down from objects down to lighting, that has a whole dynamic lighting thing where you can set the feeling for your whole map. And you can go like all the way to nighttime where it's a real cool blue, or all the way up to like a really warm, hot day. So I always like to leave it a little bit dark like that, because let's do not that there's going to be a torch here. Well, actually, yeah, let's do a torch in the inside the staircase. So I typed in torch, and there's, if you want to actually play with animated maps within Arkenforge, you can totally do that, and there's animated objects that you can put in. But since I'm using Fantasy Grounds, I just need images only, so I'll click that up. I click, I think this is my favorite torch one, and click that down. We're going to see, so it's not lined up to the wall here. You can grab this and then manipulate it however you want. So we'll put that in there, and that's cool enough, but that's not as cool as doing this. Click lighting, and then you toggle object light. And as soon as you do that, like all of a sudden it lights up that whole part of the hallway. And the cool thing is you can Control C and Control V and copy and paste these along the way. So this is one of the things that saves a lot of time for me. When I make maps, I love adding lighting effects, and the fact that it's built in so easily makes it much easier to put out a map. So let's say, to show you how this also works, so we're going to drop down this rock, and let's make it a little bit bigger. Right now, it's just basically set up as a base object. But if I come in here, so it's already got the drop shadow, but if I hit toggle shadows, all of a sudden it blocks the light from this, and you end up with this like cool like effect, like, oh man, this rock must be really tall, so it's blocking the the line of sight of this light source. One of the other things I like to do is you can actually make the light sources invisible, but they still cast light. So I'll actually add like one of my favorite things to do for this is mushrooms. Do I have to spell it out with the S? Well, guess we'll go to it the old school way. 83. Oh, it's labeled fungi. So I'll click that, and I can do lighting. Let's add some lighting. But let's say I want to make it a little bit creepier. You can choose the color of your lighting, and then also the lighting radius. And do like a 2, and then all of a sudden it's not going to be as bright as a torch. Nice one, Alan. That's a whole different late night panel that you're talking about there. I don't like, it needs to be, there we go. And so then you can go to object manipulation and change opacity. And, oh, well, that's a weird one. I wonder if that will update later. That's funny that it's like an outline of the mushrooms. Where the mushrooms are leaving a dark splotch. But anyways, that's how you can add like in lighting without having people see it. I guess just choose something. Oh, I know why it's doing that. Normally when there's a problem, if you think about it for a certain amount of time, you'll learn that it's a problem between the seat and the keyboard. It has a drop shadow. I click off the drop shadow and boom, you have a little light source that you can move around and, you know, just give little areas highlights on the map. See, Joe says, when you bring this into Fantasy Grounds, can you remove stuff? Like, can you remove a column or something if the players destroy it? You can't remove a column, but you can, it automatically figures out like placeable objects. Like last night when we were playing, there were trees that were blocking line of sight. And after they'd been all the way around the trees, what I would do is it would mark it as a container. And if I marked it as open, then it would no longer block line of sight, and it would open up the area. So I believe if you play within Arkenforge, you can definitely destroy stuff. You can move doors and things like that. If you're playing in Fantasy Grounds, you're exporting a PNG with the line of sight information, so it's a flat image that you can't edit too much. All right, so from there, let's add some stuff on the outside. Search for trees. This area is going to be, well, is it going to be winter time when I do this? Yes, we'll do some like naked trees. Just sort of paint some of those, and then I'll come in and I'll make them different sizes. That way it's not all the same look. And then you don't want a fallen tree log. What else do we got here? We can do a tree stump. Like, I feel like the guys who are going to be in here will have cut down some trees, rotate them, and change the size. That way they look a little bit different. You can also even do some cool stuff on the outside. Like, let's go to terrain, grass. Okay, I really like this dark grass here. Now I'm going to go to paintbrush, transparency. I'm going to move up to about that. Brush width is good with that. And then I'm going to move the softness all the way up. And then what you can do is like come in and paint in some like grass. And it's, when you paint on terrain, it's always going to drop down to the terrain level. There's different levels on the map of objects and terrain, and you can tell things whether you want them to be one or the other. And one of the other things is, so, all right, now that I've got a bunch of these, I'm going to right click and move out of that tool. Every one of those every time I hold down the brush is a different section, which can be a pain in the butt later on. So then what you do is you grab it, hold down Control. Nope, I don't want that tree. And I'll grab up all these things and then right, come on. All right, then you go to Options, Group Selected Tiles, and now they're one group, and I can move them up and down. Oh, I didn't want it all the way to the bottom. Move up, up. And there we go. So now we have it where that black's on top, but now you have some nice little grass stuff, and you can go in and add different textures of grass on there, different colors to give it some different textures. Oh, hey, Denny. My uncle's coming by to check out my panel. So now that we have that done, this area is not up to my standards of finished, but it's close enough for what we're doing here. We got those. Now another really cool thing, and I almost want to, I should probably save. It auto saves on its own, but you know, I never really trust that. Over here on the right hand side, you can see that there's different like numbers. You can actually build a multi-level dungeon. So let's see, just save again. I'll show you guys. Come on, how do I pick another map? Content library, cartographer, map browser. We will look at what's one I can show that is not Arkenforge. Nope. The Last Public House. This is a good one. So this is a little map I made for a one of my sessions, and they already played through this. So this is the bottom of the tavern, the bottom floor with some of the outside area. And then if we go over here and click on one and it's red, which shows me there's stuff on there, you actually have the upstairs of the tavern that's just right over it. So you can actually keep building. I have one tower that's 8 levels high, and you just keep building on top of it. And you can even do things like right over here, I just left a hole so that way you're actually seeing down to the staircase down on the lower floor. I don't know. There's a lot of little things in this program that make me really excited. So go back out to the map browser. We went to Eldar City Caves. Load back into that. Also, as you can see, this thing loads quickly. It keeps these tiles a very small size, and so that way you can manipulate and make a huge image that's 80 inches by 80 inches, but it's not going to slow down your computer while you're working on it, which is another big problem I actually had with Photoshop, because sometimes you get like 300 layers going in Photoshop, because you got like 20 trees down. Everything's going to just die on you, and so far this program has been really well optimized for keeping things going smoothly. So the moving on. Oh, hey Mom. Apparently it's a whole family thing showing up. We're going to go up here, and this is going to be a breakaway area that's going to go into a more natural area where there's going to be some creatures that have been using this as a passageway to get out into the canyons. But they have their own layer back here, which is going to be not as rigid as this dungeon here, which will be a staircase up. So we're going to go to terrain. We're not going to do cobblestone. I don't think that one might work. There we go. That's what I want, is some rock. Because this is going to be more natural, and as you can see, I'll hold up the map again. You can see like this area is going to be really sort of winding. So let's just use the paintbrush. Do the paintbrush. We don't want the brush softness this time because we actually want like a hard line on the walls. We don't want we want this to be not transparent at all, and brush, that's an okay brush width. Let's go for a lighter one. Do I like that? Nope. There we go. Alright, so then we'll just basically paint out here to this first room. Just like that. Then we will tell it to move down until that happens there. And then I know also that I want some water in here, and they have, you click on this, they've got a lot of cool water, sewer water, dirty stream and stuff, but I think the one I want is, yes, this is my favorite dungeon water, which is a blight tile. I'm going to go to brush placement again. We're going to just paint in some water. Oh, actually Control Z. The water, I like to give it a nice soft edge. So do that. So that way it looks sort of like the water's fading up into the cavern. Another trick that you can do, so then I'm going to come back and make a second layer of this blight water in there, and then select it, and I will go to object manipulation, and I'm going to go to brightness, and I'm going to darken it just a little bit. That's a little bit too much. And then now basically what I've done is I've created a darker area in the water that looks a little bit spookier. It looks like it's going deeper into the murkiness. Then for head back over to walls, and then we'll go to stone, and we'll go with the same stone that we did outside here, because that will, then it will match. We're going to want freeform placement, and just sort of trace along where I drew this. Make sure we get that water. Leave it open there on the end. Alright, so now looking at this cavern is definitely not as creepy as I want it to be, so I'm going to come back in here to the dynamic lighting. There we go. Let's make it nice and moody. Now we're going to go to my favorite lighting trick. Toss in these mushrooms. And then I'm going to make these, they're completely opaque now, but I'm going to make them a little bit visible. Like there's some, like something growing down on the bottom of that well that looks really, really scary. Another thing that's really cool that you can do is, let's go back to wall, stone, freeform placement. And let's say I want a pillar in here. All you have to do is just move that around like that, and it's going to create a pillar that will see. Oh, it's really bright out here. Object manipulation, and we want this. Nope. We want these totally visible, but we want. Oh wait, I don't want to change the hue of the mushrooms, I want to change the hue of the lighting. let's make that just a little bit dimmer. Nope, too dim. 1.5. Confirm. Yep, so that is blocking the light, not as much as I would hope it to, but it is doing it. These mushrooms are just a little bit too bright. Sorry, this is what happens when you're a perfectionist with the map making. Just move around there so they look like they're growing into the wall a little bit more. All right, so we've got a basic map already. We're only 30 minutes in, but I mean, I don't even know how long it'd take me in Photoshop to do something like this, especially with all the little tweaks I'm doing. Let's do the top of this staircase, and then we'll worry about the stairs. Those will be the next things, because going on with this cave, it'd basically be the same thing. I'd be painting down the pathway first, and you know, often when I'm working, I'm putting up the walls now because you guys are watching, but when I'm working on my own, I'll actually do all of the ground first and all the pathways before I start putting in walls, so that way I don't have to go back and delete something I put in before. But so the next thing is, and this one is going to be an experiment. What it is on the top of this map here, this huge staircase is coming up, and it's going to like a platform that's going to have like a rock overlooking like a city area and staircases going down. So I'm going to do like this room here and the like platform, but I'm not quite sure how I want to make the effect that like you're looking down into something. Maybe it'll be very desaturated or you know, darker than the rest. I guess I could actually put it down on the next level. That'd be pretty neat. Well, I realize I gotta be careful what maps I share here, because I don't want to give anything away. My mother's playing in a campaign with us, and if I show some of my cool maps I've done lately, it might show her dungeons that she hasn't explored yet. Can't do that. Alright, so this area, is that how big I want it? Yeah, it's a decent sized room. Now I think somewhere I can turn on I think I can turn the grid to white, so like if you're working with this and you know, you want to see where you're clicking and dragging, you can turn the grid white, but I don't see that right off the bat. Of course, you can also just choose this, and the black that I put down in the background, which will be helpful later on. I can always do object manipulation and change opacity to that, so that way I can actually see where the grid is. And no, Mom, you don't have to leave. I was just saying I need to be careful. I mean, there's other people there watching too. I have a lot of games going on. I can't give these people any hints. You guys all have to find out the hard way how you're gonna almost die. Okay, so we're going back to walls, and nope, don't need cobblestone. Stone there, placement there. I'm gonna control click. I know where there's gonna be doors. Alright, I'll tell you right now, it's going to bug me if that door is off center. Oops, hold on. Oh yeah, and just like anything, Control Z to undo the last thing that you just did. You know, I'm not quite at the place where Joe Slucher is with the digital stuff, where the program just maps it for me yet. I know that a lot of his digital painting, he relies on his programs to just paint stuff down. You know, he gets an assignment from Wizards. You know, it's like dragon with a big wingspan, and he just pulls out the dragon brush and he's like, click, there it is, give me my money, and he's out. You know, one day I hope that this VCR that I call a computer will be fast enough that it knows the map I want and it will just do it for me. That's everyone's hope. All right, so we need some lighting in here, so I'm going to copy this. And CV. Well, okay, Joe, maybe it does, but that's the $200 version. I'm only using the $35 version that, like, is for us little, you know, low-end mappers. So we can see here that this lighting from these torches, how it works with, like, flowing out into different areas, and it can be blocked by different objects. So we'll do door, images only. Got a lot of different doors here. This one is one I've made, so it's of course not the right size. So we place down this door. We're going to scale it up. Is that too big? Yep. That looks about right. Let's do just a tad bigger. Okay. And so we got that there. Go into lighting, toggle drop shadow, and toggle, and boom, it stops the light from going through it. Copy, paste, and all of a sudden you have the light is being blocked into the next room. Now for this one here, I'm going to use this open door. This one is from Arkenforge, and you can see it actually just automatically is the right size. Toggle shadows. And see, their door is really cool, because look at, here, we'll move it up here so you guys can see, is it actually knows that this area is open, so it's letting light through, but this is blocking it. So as we move this back down to here, you see that we have some light coming through the open doorway, but it doesn't come past this door, which is really cool. Right now, this room looks really boring, doesn't it? So let's look at some stone. Nope. What did I type in earlier? Is it rocks? There we go. Let's put some rocks down. I don't think these will be tall enough to block. That one is. That one looks big enough too. So that one will block some light in the corner there. If you just search for rock, that's where all of them are. And rocking chairs as well, in case you need some of those. And there's some really little ones in here. Now, of course, you can come in. Oh, well, that I didn't know that was attached to that. But that's fine. These are rocks. They can be whatever size they want. And I'll just go through and just change all these up. Alright, so now all of a sudden I have a room that doesn't quite look so boring. I always like adding things in the corner that will freak out my players. So just like put a couple bones, and I know I gotta have a skull in here, right? There we go. Animal skull. Oh, yeah, and let's get... this is one that I made a couple days ago. Let's say that these guys are trying to keep people out of their place. So this is actually a skull on top of a pike. We'll toggle shadows. So they put these outside. Now those are obviously the same. And let's go into object manipulation, mirror options, mirror horizontally. And then all of a sudden you've got a, and we'll rotate it just a little bit. So that way the perspective looks better on these. And all of a sudden with one object, we're having a little off center there. This is looking like a way scarier hallway. And we'll rotate this one a little bit more. Or if we have it like that, and then overlapping a little bit, give it some depth. Just like a good painting, the more you overlap stuff, the more it makes it look real, right? So, Joe, your question about it working with Fantasy Grounds. So, for other things like difficult terrain or lighting, it right now it's a little limited. I mean, Fantasy Grounds Unity is so new, and Arkenforge is really pushing this as their own tabletop solution. So I don't know what all they have in the works, but I know this is one of those companies that's like very cool with keeping up with everyone. Like every time I've had an option that I wanted, I go to their forums, and like there's already someone that's asked, and already one of the development team is like, we're working on it. So so that's pretty exciting. You know, I'm excited to see what it's going to be like in a year with Fantasy Grounds Unity and this program. Alan, your question. So a sci-fi version. Here's the other super cool thing about this. So we'll go up here to the palettes. This is actually, I made my own palette, which I can't look at it because they found a better way to do this. So you don't have to make your own palette anymore. But since I went through all the hassle of doing it, they allow you to still use it. The new thing that they do is you can come over here to, oh, nope, scenario, soundscape, cartographer, content library. So if you click this home button up at the top, content library, go to cartographer, you can upload all of your stuff, whatever you want. So, and you get to decide how you want it to look, like, you know, meaning like what folders you want. And then the minute you put all these in, you have access to them in all of the search functions. So you can make a whole sci-fi version and just paint sci-fi maps. So they've obviously been focused very much on doing fantasy stuff, but they're also putting out tile sets on their own. And I'm sure like that sci-fi is one of the things that they have coming down the line. Like here you can see some of these are ones I've made that are favorites. Chimney with smoke. These are just different placeables that I've either taken from places or modded myself, like these staircases. Oh, that's what we can do. All right, so let's go back to home, cartographer. All right, let's see if we can make it look like a staircase. And then it looks like we're running to the end. So if anyone has questions, now's the time to ask them. I don't think I have a panel up next, but I'm sure I have to announce someone's panel. So here's one set of stairs. If you hold down Control, it like locks and does it in 45-degree turns, which is also nice. So I guess, well, what I could do is I could scale it up so that way it's big like that. And then I could manipulate it, layering, and let's say swap to terrain layer, all of a sudden it goes to terrain, and then what people would see when they're playing is would basically just be those stairs going wall to wall. You know, and it doesn't quite match this cobblestone thing. You know, the question is is that going to bug me in the long run? Maybe. Oh, here's another set of stairs. This one matches a little bit more. So let's do that. Scale it up. Oh, this is going to be much. Fill up a lot more of the thing, and it almost gets too big there on the end, maybe, because those shadows. Yeah, that's a thing of personal taste. I'll move these rocks out, or maybe move them up to the top here. Oh, well, one thing you can do to make it match better. Sorry, maybe I should have made this a 2-hour panel. Not that you guys want to put up with this for 2 hours, but look, you can lower the brightness of this. And even though it doesn't match perfectly now, the value is much closer, and that might pass my OCD level on this. Now, if I was making this quick for an adventure that's coming up this weekend, then yeah, like that, I'd be like, okay, good to go, next. But I think that's good. And just copy, paste. And I got 2 staircases going up right where I want them to, up onto the platform that will then come out and look out down below. So, not seeing any questions yet, so I'm just going to keep going until time runs out, and then we'll call it a day. Alright, so we'll go to terrain. Where wasn't it? Oh, rock. Rock is what it's called. We want to do a brush. No softness. Nope, don't like it. Which was the one I liked? Yeah, that one. Alright, so this will be the platform heading down. And then we'll actually go down one more level. Oh, can't see it. So where's the marker at? Alright. We'll go rock, tile placement, do that, and then boom, now you have sort of a tile down below there. Oh, okay. Yes, Alan, it's $35, I think, unless they have it on sale. And that comes with the first tile set and the full program that can make stuff, and the ability to use it on your tabletop as well. But there we go. Oh, I guess the one last thing we'll do before we go is I'll show you guys easily how to export it. So we go to, let's bring this back up to full capacity. Oh, went too far. Alright, so we will go to first save. Then we'll drag the palette tool over. Oh, look, you can click background color. I've never noticed that before. Well, you don't have to do the all black if you don't want to. But, so we'll go to export map. And then, so here it has this export selection. I grab my selection. Got too much of it. Alright, and we'll just go right to there. Do that. 120 DPI. Click export. Takes a moment. Pops up a map. And then we have a PDF high-res version of it ready to go. ready to be dropped in your map program. So that's a pretty good size. It's only seven megs. Here's some of the other maps I've made. Oh, you're speaking of sci-fi. Here's I'm running a Cyberpunk Red game, and they had to do a train heist. So this is a fast-moving train that I took from the design from the actual Cyberpunk Red, one of their demo modules, and rebuilt it so you can drop down behind all these crates. So that's a sci-fi one. Here is a very moody tavern called the Broken Goat. And then here's a huge one. This is for my Starborn game. Yeah, this is the one I think that's 80 inches by 80 inches. So I built this whole asteroid base that the guys go to, and in Fantasy Grounds, like at each building is like blacked out, so then they don't see what's in it till they go in, and they basically explore this whole map. But like, how cool is it that I have a program that can make a map this big and basically like, okay, there, got a whole city done with lighting and tile placement. It's awesome. So anyways, so that's the program. That's Arkenforge and SagaBorn maps. If anyone's interested, I put up some of my maps on Drive Through RPG. I try to just sell them for a buck or two, because I'm mainly doing them for me or my adventures, but I know everyone loves maps. So if you ever need maps, be sure to check that out. And thanks for showing up to the panel, and thanks for showing up to AradaniCon. So we'll be heading out to the next panel, which is 2 o'clock, Cosplay 101 with Ginger O Snap. So I'll be posting about that in Discord soon. But thanks everyone, and talk to you soon.